Hey guys, it's Kim and today we're going to be talking about Star Wars Episode 7. So because I'm now back in Australia, I'm fortunate enough to be the second country I think to get it after the premiere. So I think first it was New Zealand, then Australia. So I went on the midnight session and I saw it. I think it's been 3 days since I've seen it and I'm in like complete denial about everything, but I wanted to do this review. It's going to be a spoiler review because I don't see the point in posting a non-spoiler and then a spoiler review in two separate videos because technically you're talking about the same thing, just not mentioning people, and I find that kind of stupid. So this is going to be a spoiler review. If you haven't seen the film, please go away, see it, and come back, and then we can discuss. But let's talk Star Wars Episode 7. Oh my god, we thought this would never, ever exist. But here it is, on our screens. Oh my god. So obviously I've been beyond excited for this film to come out because 4, 5, and 6 are my favourite, which I think is 99.9% of everybody's favourite. Of course, I did have a few issues with some things, but it did not in any way discourage me from falling in love with this film. What I want to talk about first of all is some of the characters that we saw in this film. Firstly, the introduction of Rey. I think it goes without saying that Rey is probably mostly everybody's favourite character right now, but I think she has an important place in female hearts for this film because it has been so long since we've seen an actual female as a main character in Star Wars. I mean, you do have Princess Leia, but she does not kick butt. Let's just not even talk about Padme because those 3 films just don't even, okay? So Rey to me was just an amazing character. She was kick butt, she was funny, but the best thing about her kick butt attitude is that it wasn't in your face. She was still deep down quite an innocent person, and that's what I really loved most about her. Now, because I didn't want to see any spoilers at all for this film, I didn't look up anything, so I didn't know who belonged to who, whose children were who, whatever. So of course this film completely confused the sweet bejeebers out of me because we don't know whose family she comes from. We don't know if she's Luke's daughter, we don't know if she's Han and Leia's daughter, we don't know. And that's what made it amazing for this film. Whatever you think, it's just, no, it's not right. So don't even try to make sense of it before you've actually seen the film. Now, of course, like always, I do have a few issues that I want to talk about. So the issues I had with Rey is, we know that she's somewhat skilled in combat, because we did see her completely kick Finn's ass and those other people in the market, but it does not make sense that she picks up a lightsaber and is suddenly super skillful with it. That is one of the things that really bugged me, because people can argue and say, oh, she has the Force and all that crap, but like, still, that makes no sense, because all of these Jedis, especially in the first 3 films, they have been training with lightsabers since they were like 10. So it makes no sense at all that she can suddenly pick up a lightsaber and she can literally beat Kylo Ren with it. And he has been training since he was probably a kid with Luke Skywalker. So that just does not make sense at all to me. No. And that mind control scene, she didn't even know the Force existed, knew nothing about it, and suddenly she could use mind control. That to me was a bit stupid because I think it took Luke forever to do that. A really long time. And it took him forever to use a lightsaber as well. I mean, if we think about the battle in Empire between him and Darth Vader, it wasn't particularly out there, was it? And he ended up losing an arm. So that should have been it or worse for Rey. You know, whatever, we'll look past it. There was only one other scene that really bugged me with her in it, and that's when she came back on the Millennium Falcon with Chewie and Finn. Spoiler, Han Solo had died, so she comes back on the ship, and the first thing that happens is Princess Leia hugs her. Now that might not seem weird to you guys, but if you think about it, this is the first time in the whole film that they have ever met. Think about it. Why would the first thing they do be to hug each other? It does not make sense. And it would make sense if she was her daughter and Leia was like, oh my god, you know, and then they hugged. But then nothing happened. So, excuse me? I was talking about this to my sister as well, and she said, well, it's because Han died and, you know, Rey looked up to Han as like a father figure, so her and Leia are consoling each other. Okay, but this is the first time they've met, like, either introduction or the fact that why would Leia know that Rey sees Han as her father figure? There's no actual reason to why that thing happened, why that action happened, nothing. The first thing that Leia would do would probably be to hug Chewie, since he knew Han for like his whole life. That part was a major plot point to me. I have no actual answer for why that happened. But moving on. Next up I want to talk about Finn, who is probably one of my favorite characters in this film. I just found him so entertaining and amazing. It was just a joy watching every single scene he was on screen. It felt to me that he was sort of like a modern day version. So he was kind of like us, and he'd been put in the Star Wars universe. So he was reacting to a lot of things the way that we would react in like modern day. And a lot of other people that have been reviewing this film have said that that's a bad thing, but I personally found it a good thing. It means that we can connect more with him because he has literally the same reactions that we would have in the film, which makes him much more relatable as a character. Obviously, there are things that did annoy me, so let's talk about them. One of the main things that annoyed me was his motivation. Basically, like the first scene, we see him come down with Kylo Ren and a bunch of other stormtroopers and kill a whole lot of civilians there. Like that's his main thing. We can see that he has a huge problem with that, which obviously, because you're killing people for no reason. So later on we saw that he had a huge problem with that, and that's why he defected. I just found that scene really quick. I know that there's a lot happening in this film, so they have to move it really quickly, and obviously there's a lot that happened before that scene in Finn's mind, probably. So that felt a little rushed to me, his motivation to quickly switch to, you know, the light side. But later on in the film, he did confirm that that was his first combat, which made a lot more sense to me. I mean, obviously, just learning this one way that they've been taught, and then suddenly they're in the field and all this bad stuff starts happening and the morals take over. That is completely understandable. I get that. But if we think about further on in the film, when Han, Chewie, and Finn are on the Millennium Falcon and they come to the New Age Death Star, suddenly Finn knows everything about everything. So Han makes his comment. What were you doing on the Death Star? What was your actual job? And Finn says, sanitation. Get? So you're expecting us to believe that this New Age Death Star is so low on staff, it literally sends its plumbers out on combat raids? He's in sanitation. Why is he off on planets fighting? Do they not need sanitation anymore? Get? That was a major plot point I had issues with, but okay. Last problem I had with him is that he could suddenly use a lightsaber. Like, yeah, he wasn't that great with it, but he was pretty decent. He was doing like forward rolls on the ground while having it open. I'm sorry, if he did a forward roll with holding a lightsaber open, he would lose a foot for sure. But he was completely limb-full at the end of the film. So, well, he did get chopped up a bit, but like, he had all his limbs from what I can see. But none of that deters that, of course, Finn was one of my favorite characters of this film, so I'm not gonna stack on him too bad, but there were obviously those issues. Now this leads us on to Kylo Ren. I, at the beginning, thought, oh, a new Darth Vader, that I don't really want that. But over the progression of the film, we saw that he was very different. Very, very different. Especially at the beginning when we saw he had a lot of tantrums. And we could immediately feel, hey, this guy, he doesn't seem altogether. There's something about him that's different. And later on we could see that it was literally tantrums that he was having. It was like a maturity thing, wasn't it? So I found him to be the Anakin that Anakin should have been in episode 3. That was, if that happened, I would applaud. That would be great, but that didn't happen, so I found Kylo Ren really interesting later on when they started to develop his character a bit more. Of course, the biggest spoiler of all, in my opinion, was that Ren is Han and Leia's son. What? What the hell? That completely spoiled me, and I felt so betrayed the rest of the film. I just felt wrong. And it wasn't like, no, I hate this movie wrong. It was like, how has this happened wrong? I can't even deal. What are you doing right now? You're evil and you're killing people. And then, of course, the biggest spoiler at all, he kills his own father, Han Solo, dead. Now, Han Solo is my favorite character of the entire Star Wars world. So I had much tear in film. Many tear on face. Actually, I'm just joking, I cried afterwards. Because when he died on the screen, I did not believe it. It was not built up enough for me to believe that he was actually dead. It was just like, oh, dead, but don't worry, because he's not really dead. That's what I felt. But now that I've thought about it, I really think he's dead, and I am having many issues with it, obviously, as most people would have been in the actual film. But I had to wait and had a super delayed reaction and had issues after film. So much that, I I feel a pain in my heart. It hurts. So that's probably all I want to talk about in terms of characters. I know that was a lot of bad points in that section, but don't get me wrong, this film is amazing and I'm actually going to go see it a second time over the weekend. Like, I rarely see films in the cinema twice because I don't want to give them my money. But this film deserves all of my money. I think the only films I've ever seen twice is the recent Mockingjay, because my sister basically forced me to go see it with her again, which really was underwhelmed in my opinion, so I'm kind of ashamed that I went to see it twice. And the only other film that I've seen more than twice was Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, when I had that really awkward Orlando Bloom phase. But the best thing I found about this film is that it has a familiar plot. A lot of people are saying that it's very much a reboot of the fourth film. I don't think that's right. I think they're trying to pay homage to the fourth film and show that we're not going in a bad direction. We're going in a good direction, but we still have to show that it's still part of this universe and that things happen, you know, that are very similar. It's like a repetition of what happens, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because there's all these different elements happening now. But overall, I give this film, oh, this is so difficult, I think an 8.5 out of 10, which is a complete lie because I rated it 10 out of 10 on IMDb, but I do that when I just watch things and I think it's amazing and I just put a 10 because I want to give it my support. But realistically, I would give it an 8.5 out of 10. This is an amazing film. It completely met all of my expectations. And as I said, I'm going to go see it again, and I may go see it a third time. So the only thing that sucks is I don't think people have realized this, because a lot of people are like, oh, don't worry, we'll see the next one next year. Oh, yeah, but it's coming out in 2017. That's not next year, it's the year after. Do we have to wait a year and a half for the next film? Do you know how depressing that is? It's very depressing. Oh my god. How are we gonna do this, people? I can't even, all the evens, just away from me. But that was my review for today, guys. I didn't want to go too much into detail about the whole plot because I'd be here for like an hour. Let me know what you thought about the film in the comments below. If you're going to put spoilers in, some people may watch a tiny bit of this video without seeing the film, so if you're going to put spoilers in the film, make sure you write spoiler at the top and press enter like 7 or 8 times so that it is in the read more section of your comment. But I want to know what you guys think. I will read the comments, and I want to hear all of your opinions on what you thought of the Star Wars film. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you very soon. Goodbye.